Perfect. There we go. Make that. Let's go ahead and slap this sweet baby on Twitch. And then let's go ahead and open up Twitch so Tyler done sent messages. So I can monitor chat a little bit in there. If you're on YouTube and watching, say hi to Twitch. And if you're on Twitch, say hi to YouTube. Let's be friendly. I like it. Let me just double check everything here. Perfect. Turn that down. And now I can see the chat for both. That's what I needed. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. And I was on the fence about doing this live, right? I thought about doing this as a pre-recorded video and editing it. But as I've said before, I prefer live because I like the interaction I get when people are watching. I like the conversational tones that we can take. I like that it becomes more of an interactive experience rather than me just dumping information at people. I want that real time back and forth. It is a lot better for me and how I interact in a lot of the things that I do. I spent years and years in sales, so a lot of my ability to communicate is predicated on my ability to listen and have conversations rather than just spew information out at you. So, like I said, today's going to be a little bit different. I had talked to some of the subscribers about potentially doing some fitness type stuff and some health and wellness type stuff because it does relate and pertain to our ability to play the game, and it does relate and pertain to our mental health and our mental awareness and our mental fitness. At the end of the day, you have to take care of yourself because if you don't, it's going to seep into the other facets of your life, and stress will kind of affect everything. We all experience stress, we all experience anxiety, and we all just respond to it differently. So it's one of those where I feel like it's important to reach out to everybody and just remind people and talk about what I'm doing to kind of bring myself to a better place so that I can be a better content creator, a better father, a better husband, a better everything. Just be a better human. So we're going to start on our fitness journey today, and we're going to talk about kind of my background and who I am as a person because I mean, a lot of you probably know me, but a lot of you actually don't really know me, right? And that's kind of an intentional thing for me. So this is actually kind of a tough subject for me to be publicly vocal and open about who I am, and so bear with me as we go through this. Let's see. Before we dig in, obviously subscribe. I've got the giveaway going. I am going to continue to do these, but they will be in their own separate playlist. We'll do them probably a lot live, and then I'll add them to their own playlist later. But the health and wellness, we're going to explore different things that you can do that don't take a lot of time and don't take a lot of space. You won't need a gym membership for a lot of it. You can just like buy one or two pieces of equipment and dedicate 20 to 30 minutes of your life, and it'll just make amazing. It will help you a lot. It will give you a lot of benefit by simply doing these small things over time. Again, big shout out to militarygamingcommand.org. I am doing an Apocalypse event fundraiser in June. And once that comes around, if you're not able to make the event, but you want to donate to this fundraiser or donate to this nonprofit organization, reach out to me. I will make sure I get all the information I need so that if you can't make the event and you still want to donate, we will make that a reality. It is very near and dear to me. I've lost a lot of veteran friends over the years, whether it be to KIAs or suicide or anything else. And unfortunately, I also know a lot that are severely impacted or injured due to the experiences that we had in Iraq. Physically, I came out pretty much okay. Mentally, I'm a very changed person. It's not better, it's not worse, it's just different. But so what they do is actually an amazing thing, and it's very important to me. So again, big shout out and continue to subscribe. We're almost to 200. I'd like to hit 300. I don't think we're going to hit it by May, but if we can get to 200 by May, I'll still do the giveaway, and we're pretty close. I think we're like 10 away. So we're going to talk about me a little bit, right, and my fitness history and just kind of my life experiences. I spent 6 years in the active duty military. It was actually like 5 and some change because I got caught on some stop loss orders. I did 2 tours in Iraq. I was in the invasion in 2003 with the 502nd Infantry Regiment. And then I went back in 05 to 06 during the occupation. I was stationed at Baghdad International Airport during the second. And then during the first tour, we just lived in sector for most of that tour, meaning, we would just like squat in buildings, take them over, and create our own little operating bases and stuff like that. So that was my experience. That's really what got me big into any kind of fitness because in high school I loved basketball, but I didn't play for the team. I just loved like going to the park, playing basketball, shooting hoops, but I didn't get into any kind of strength training. I didn't really understand it, and it's intimidating, And when you're a young guy, it's just not. I don't know. When I was a young guy, it wasn't as common or promoted, and I should have sought it out and learned more then, but I didn't. But I'm glad that once I got into the military, I started to learn more about it. I got in, and the military does not teach you good fitness habits. They don't, right? And they may now. I've been out for almost 5 or 7 years at this point, but from the Guard, and I've been out of active duty for over 10, right? So when I was in, they don't really teach you good fitness habits. They're just like, you're going to run, you're going to do push-ups, this is what we're doing, blah, 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 blah. So I had to kind of seek out and learn more about fitness. And thankfully, big shout out to Corporal LeBron, and I know he's not a corporal anymore, and he probably got promoted to sergeant, but in my head, he's always going to be a corporal. Super awesome dude. I was at our makeshift gym, right? It had just like chunks of concrete and stuff, and I didn't know anything. So I was just kind of like lifting things, and he pulled me to the side, and honestly, we've talked about this, and he doesn't even really remember it, and there's no reason for him to, but it impacted me a lot because he was just like, hey, man, like, you got to make sure you're doing this, and you're doing that, and you're doing this, and you're doing that, and, he didn't like sit down and teach me, but he helped me understand. And then he helped me understand that I also need to research these things. So I spent a lot of time researching, exercising, and working out, and, just getting my body into better shape. Strength training became a very integral part of what I did. Running still was a big part of what I did because I was in the military, and I even tried out for the Army 10-mile team. And out of 60 people, I finished 20th. And so in 10 miles, I ran it in 80 minutes, which means I ran 8-minute miles for 10 miles. And as fast as that probably sounds to some people, bro, I didn't even go fast enough to make the team, right? Like, there were people who finished it in under an hour, and I was just like, fuck. All right, dude, I'm not at that level, and I probably never will be, and that's okay. Once I got out of the military, I became a certified personal trainer. Once I got out of active duty, I bounced around from job to job for a while, trying to kind of figure out where I was at. I didn't start drinking until after I got out of the military. I mean, I had a couple beers here and there while I was in, but it wasn't until after I got out and I just struggled to adapt to civilian life, I started drinking a bit. And then I became a certified personal trainer. I got NASM and ISSA certified, as well as a couple of community college courses and certifications. I was a general fitness and health personal trainer. I am not like sports specific. So if you want to get better at basketball or you want to get better at baseball, I am not your guy. I know people who are your guy. That is not me. If you want to improve your mobility, improve your day-to-day quality of life, Nice, man. When I was when I was peak me, I was running 2 miles in about I think it was 13 minutes, about 6.5 minute miles. But that was peak me, and I've always just been kind of a broader, larger human, even when I was thin, and so it just I running was never my thing. I'm like 5.5 feet tall. I got little troll legs. I look ridiculous when I'm running. So it just was never my strong suit. But yeah. So again, not sports specific. You wanna improve your mobility. You wanna improve your fitness level. You wanna basically just improve your quality of life. That is where I sit. I am Tyler. You're like 6 feet tall. Don't tell me same. That's where I sit. I can help you improve your quality of life. I can help you be better. I can help you be healthier. Right? Um, that's what I did. Gotcha. Yeah. That's what I did, and I loved it. And honestly, the only reason I got out of it ever was because I moved, and where I moved to, there just wasn't a career opportunity for me. So around 6 years ago or so, and my timelines aren't the best, but a lot of that just has to do with how I process things. I just kind of like live my life in chunks, and when a chunk is over, it just kind of flushes out of my brain. And it's usually event-based chunks. So like pre-fire, like I remember it, but I don't dwell on it. Like I just move forward. But about 6 years ago, I started getting a lot of chronic shoulder pain and a lot of rib and back and neck pain. And it was actually probably about 7, 8 years ago, because 6 years ago was about when I started getting into the civilian side of the doctors. Uh, and when I say chronic pain, like my shoulder would get red, it would get hot to touch, it would swell, and it was my left shoulder. And my ribs were starting to hurt real bad, like hurt to breathe. And, I went to Army medical. I went on sick call for the guard because it started flaring up while I was doing push ups. So I just went to sick call. And they were just like, yeah, you're good, man. Just take some time off in typical, Army doctor fashion. And then when I went to the VA for it, right, the doctor, she looked me in the eyes, and this is not an exaggeration, and this is why, like, I have just struggled to really like any interaction I've had with the VA outside of Dr. Altman. Dr. Altman was the counselor that I saw, but she looked me in the eyes and told me I just needed a massage or something. Like, exact quote. She said, Mr. June, you just need a massage or something. And I was infuriated. Like, my shoulder is red, it's swollen, it's hot to touch. Like, there's clearly something wrong with it. And she had the audacity to just send me on my way and say I needed a massage. She could have just simply said, I don't give a shit about you. Get out of my office. And I would have taken that a lot better. But to look at me and just be like, you just need a massage or something. And I looked at her and I said, so if I come in and it burns when I pee, are you just going to tell me that I have AIDS or something? Is this the level of care that I'm getting? And she said, hey, that's not really appropriate. And I mean, I can be pretty petty. And I just looked at her and was like, you're not fucking appropriate. And I walked out, right? I was just so mad. I ended up starting to go to a civilian doctor. And unfortunately, I had health insurance at the time through my employer. And so it was a big journey, because I was seeing a doctor that I didn't know was out of network, and the doctor didn't know they were out of network until they went to refer me. And once they went to refer me to physical therapy, they were like, oh, this doctor's out of network, so you got to go to this other doctor, right? So I went to this other doctor, and I was just like, look, bro, here's what I need. I just walked into the office, and this dude, I was just like, look, man, here's what I've been through. I don't want to have a conversation. I just need you to sign this referral so I can go and get my physical therapy, and then I can go and get my MRI. So then he starts asking me all these questions, and I finally stopped him. I'm like, look, man, just give me what I need. I'll schedule another appointment later, we can sit down and we can have all the conversations you want, but right now I just want to get what I need so I can go schedule this and move on with my life. So he did. He signed the referral. I went and started seeing the physical therapist. The physical therapist was just like, "Hey man," and the whole time I've been drinking more and more because of the pain, right? I wasn't sleeping, everything hurt. I started drinking, and it just like more and more and more. So I start physical therapy. The physical therapist starts running me through exercises, and as we're doing it, I'm just like, "Look, bro, I have nothing but respect for what you do, but I'm telling you right now, whatever's wrong with my shoulder, this is not going to fix it." I said, I'm not a nurse or a doctor, but I do have a basic working knowledge of anatomy, and I'm telling you, this isn't going to fix it. So we get 2 weeks in, right? And by 2 weeks, I mean like the start of the second week. And I actually have emails between him that I ended up Googling, or not Googling, but searching for because of issues I'm having with the VA now. And I was just like, "Hey, man, uh, is it supposed to hurt more or less when I leave your office?" And he was like, "Well, it's not really supposed to hurt at all." And I was like, "Well," and I sent him a picture of it. And it was just like super swollen and red. And he was like, "All right, cool. I'm gonna end your treatment. Go get your MRI referral. Let's move on. We're done here." And I was like, "Awesome, cool." So I go back in to talk to the doctor about the MRI, and I just hand him the paper, and I'm like, "I just need the MRI, man, and I can move on with my life and get out of your hair." Uh, so again, the doctor's just like, "Yeah, all right." Like at this point, this is the second time he's seen me. Signs the MRI referral, and then we end up scheduling the appointment so I could sit down and give him the whole backstory on everything. But that's again totally different story for a totally different day. So we talk about it. I get my MRI. I find out that I have two bone spurs from my shoulder not having any cartilage. My left shoulder completely devoid of all cartilage. I have two bone spurs from the shoulder joint just doing this bone on bone. And then my tendons, because of like this, were tightening. And that was causing my ribs and stuff to kind of pull and separate. And that was what was causing like my neck, my back, and my rib pain, right? So between the extra drinking, my injury, yeah, bone on bone, son. Between the extra drinking and my injury kind of hampering my ability to exercise, and then my ex-wife was at the time we were married, was pregnant with my son, right? So I had gained some sympathy weight plus some because of everything else, and just mentally I wasn't there. I wasn't in a good spot. And really what ended up happening, that surgery was one of the best things that ever happened to me in my life for a lot of reasons. When I talked to the surgeon, when I first met the surgeon, he walked in and he's just like all disheveled. He's got like a board shorts and flip flops on, and I'm just like, is this real life? But he was super cool, dude. And we're talking about it, and he's like, "Yeah, man, here's what we're gonna do. Here's the surgery. I have to take 1.5 inches of your clavicle off. And we're going to grind down those bone spurs. And, I'm going to be upfront with you. You're never going to be the same man. You're going to be weaker. You're going to lose a lot of your, not a lot. He said you're going to lose about 20% of your upper body strength because you're not going to be able to push yourself as much, because the only thing that's going to be holding your shoulder together is basically going to be like connective tissue, soft tissue, stuff like that. Which, we talked about it. And then he's like, so I have to ask you if you want the surgery. Yeah, right. FDA approved indeed. He's like, here's the downsides of having the surgery. Or no, he was like, so now we need to talk about what will happen if you don't have the surgery. And he was like, if you don't have the surgery, basically what's going to happen is over time your left arm's just going to become paralyzed. And I was like, oh, well, that kind of sucks, man. And he was just like, yeah. He's like, so I have to ask you, and he went through the ethics of it and stuff. He's like, do you want the surgery? And I'm like, are you fucking serious? No, I want my left arm to be paralyzed, you goon. So we right. Well, fortunately, it's my left hand. I can still roll them with the right, man. And my elbow would still work. It's just the shoulder joint would have locked up, so I'd just be like a little Nemo flipper, right? So I got the surgery, and then I after the surgery, right? I got he told me straight up. He was like, "Look, man, you can go to physical therapy, but if you can lift your hand over your head within a week, no physical therapy." So every day I was just like, uh, just fighting, 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 pushing myself. Not that I didn't like physical therapy, but man, if I can just not go because I can do this myself, I will. Uh, After that surgery, right, I got put on Vicodin, but it was just a week supply, and I only took it for 3 or 4 days. But man, I tell you that 3 or 4 days I slept like a baby for the first time in years. So what ended up happening was I ended up checking myself into addiction therapy at the VA. I stopped drinking because I was sleeping and everything felt good. And then I started working on my health, right? The surgery did end my military career because evidently they want you to have a full clavicle instead of half a clavicle, right? And really that's what kind of trended like this almost like a renaissance for me where I started losing weight, getting back into shape, getting my mental health in order. Um, Unfortunately, like stress is an ever-present thing in everybody's life, right? Like my marriage at the time was toxic. It was bad for both of us. It wasn't just her. It wasn't just me. One of the things from my perspective that I saw was that she was kind of a lazy person, you know, and that's fine. That's her prerogative. But unfortunately, that lack of motivation and laziness I let seep into my life and bring me down. So I kind of started once I got out of that marriage, right? It helped me tremendously in my mental health. My brother and I opened a guitar store that eventually transformed into the Vorpal Gaming game store that a lot of people know me for. Um, and really, that was the best and worst experience for me, right? I allowed the store to kind of take over my life and really just kind of dictate what I could and couldn't do. And I just didn't take enough time for me. And I think that's very common for people who are self-employed. I think, what do you do when I'm the man and I'm bringing myself down? You know, open my guitar or store burned down, which again in some ways was the best worst thing to happen to me. Also, I kind of got to realize how much I let that just seep into every facet of my life and how much I just needed a break, how much I needed to be away from it, you know. But I will say one of the biggest issues I've had since, right, is that with the store being gone, I've had a really hard time establishing a good routine. And, you know, I'm not a heavy drinker, but I'll probably drink every other day. But again, I'm not drinking till I'm drunk. I'm not drinking till I pass out, but it's more than I should be. And it's a lot of extra calories also from a health standpoint. So between being unable to establish a good routine and I just really like beer, right? Like I enjoy the taste of beer, like a good beer, not like shitty beer. So those things have caused me to put on about 15 pounds in the last year, which is a lot of weight. That's over a pound a month, right? And so I realized this last week, you know, and again, what made me realize this was just more stressors seeping into what I'm doing, and then because of the type of 40K that we tend to play, right? My immediate play group, it's very highly competitive. It's very um, it's not unhealthy, but it's a very competitive atmosphere. Like there's not a lot of just like throw some dice and have some fun. It's like every game is basically a tournament, right? And it does get exhausting. And when you're doing that level of play on a regular basis and you're also having all these other external stressors, the thing that used to be your stress relief or fun is now just being added to the list of stressors, right? So again, this is part of the point behind this video, is to just reach out to everybody and explain to them like, hey, everybody has rough times, right? And it's important that we take care of ourselves so that we can continue to build and grow our community, our relationships, and ourselves. You know, so I put on this weight, and for those that know me, know that almost a year ago was when the fire happened, right? Uh, I lost my store. I lost everything I owned. I lost my home. The insurance company found a way to legally not pay for anything. So I'm just kind of up shit creek there, and I've like got the state involved in it, and the lawyers. I've talked to multiple lawyers. They won't touch it because of the fact that it's all legal. It's a long story. I'm not digging into that right now, but the long and the short of it is basically I owned the building, lost everything I owned, and had to start fresh from ground zero, and have spent the last year just kind of navigating that, right? And I think it's normal for people who go through an experience like that to either lose or put on weight, simply because that's a lot of stress that's impacting their life. It's a lot of change. And so different people will respond to it and deal with it differently, whether you're consuming more alcohol, whether you're doing other things, whether you're not eating, etc. Like, it's going to cause some fluctuations in your health. And so, in addition to that, my son was diagnosed with a neuroblastoma, which is a rare form of childhood cancer. And it's where you have these nerve cells in your body that don't develop properly, or they're actually supposed to go away, and then they don't go away, and then they become cancer. And so, like, that has been a journey for all of us over the last 5 years as well. Yeah, it's been 5 years. Sorry, I had to think about that. As of right now, he's cancer free, but this is considered a chronic disease, so we have to do maintenance therapy and all these other things. So, even though he's cancer free right now, that doesn't mean he will be tomorrow, right? So again, it's just another thing that has impacted my day-to-day health and my day-to-day life, and kind of really dictated what I do and how I do it. So, starting last week, I kind of looked at everything going on in my life. My aunt just passed away from cancer, and so I've got that. He is still in school. His mom's still trying to get him full time. I'm still pushing for 1 day a week. He is doing 1 day a week, and I think we're going to go up to 2. But I feel like it's a waste at this point because A, school is going to be out in like a month, and B, he's going to be starting maintenance therapy and back out of school probably within a month, right? So it's one of those where it's like it's good. I'm glad he got that experience. From a mental health standpoint, I don't feel like it was necessary. But at the end of the day, like, going 1 day a week wasn't the end of the world. I feel like if we'd have sent him back full time, like she wanted to do, it would have caused a lot more stress and chaos in his life. But the 1 day a week has been okay. He's enjoyed it, and it's a way for him to kind of get some sort of normalcy as a child, right? Kids go to school. He gets to go to school, so it helps him feel like a normal kid, which is good. But yeah, so like I said, last week I've looked at everything going on, and I'm just like, I need a break. I need to step away. So like today, normally I'd be going out to play 40K today, and I'm not. I'm gonna get some work done around the house. I'm gonna play some Minecraft Dungeons. I'm gonna clock in and do my part-time job, and I'm gonna do a variety of things. I went for a jog this morning. I did some push-ups, pull-ups, stuff like that. And that's what I'm doing with my life now, right? I'm going to make sure that I'm in a good place mentally before I start dedicating my time to jumping back into constant 40K. Not that I don't want to play, but that I want to make sure when I play, I'm able to just enjoy the game rather than just letting the stress build up and leach out into the game itself. Because, like, even my game with you, Tyler, like, I wasn't mad, but, like, there were periods of time where it was like, man, I could feel myself just getting frustrated. And it wasn't even anything you did or I did or the game did. It's just because of where I've been at mentally. And I had to just, like, calm myself down, right? So it's one of those where once again that I'm seeing these, I'm mindful enough. I try to be introspective enough to notice these things. So I'm going to take, like I said, this week off. We're going to do the tournament, and then we'll see what next week holds. And that's why I've been so big on getting my fantasy game to a playable point, because that game is intended to just not be competitive, right? Like, it's intended to have a bit more of a narrative sense to it. And I can flip that switch and go, okay, this is what this is supposed to be. This is what it is. So the reason I'm sharing all of this, right, is because regardless of why we play 40K or who we are, self-care is important. And as a male or a man or whatever term you want to use, we don't talk about it enough. Right, exactly, man. Right, reset the brain, get some time away, focus on things that I want to focus on. I think May is going to help. We've got a big family vacation planned. I have no desire to be at Disney, but the family's going to be happy and they're going to be excited, and that in turn will make me happy. And yeah, that's it, man, is just being in a good mindset. And that's what it is for a while, 40K was like my way to blow off steam. And now it's just become another stressor because of the level of play that we're doing. And that's okay. But now I just need to reroute that energy, that negative energy, somewhere else, right? But like I said, I think, and the only reason I'm saying we as men is because I've looked at the analytics. Most of my viewers are male, and that's fine. I don't care. You could be male or female. But I will say, from my perspective, men don't really focus or talk about taking care of themselves near as much as women do, right? Women are all about, like, get you some self-care, go do this, go do that, whatever it is, right? Whereas as guys, like, generally speaking, the mindset is to just kind of suck it up and move on, right? And I don't know what everybody else's experience is with that, but that's generally what I've been told my whole life, right? As a young child, my dad was just like, you just got to push through it, buddy. You just got to suck it up and move on. And, once I was in the military, that is the mindset. When I was in the infantry, that was it, man. And again, part of it is also there's a generational gap between myself and some people where, like, when I was young, there was a mindset that you could walk off concussions, for example. Right, exactly, Tyler. Like, we still hear it. You could just, like, get a concussion and you could just move on with your life and be fine. And because of that, so spa day, no. I have this weird thing about having other people touch me. It's just not a thing I'm about. So as long as it's a hands-off experience, I'll check it out, man. But as soon as I start having other people touch me, it just, like, it makes my skin crawl and I want to fight, and no joke. It's why I'm also not a big hugger. But I also recognize that a lot of people are, and I recognize that me not being a hugger is me, right? So I will hug people that want hugs, but I will never offer hugs. So that's just who I am as a person. Like, having other people touch me just makes me want to fight instantly. So it's one of those where, so a good example of that is we did a Christmas party and I had just met these people, right? And it's my wife's friends, and we're not technically married yet. We're engaged. There's some issues with the fire that are prolonging the wedding, but for all intents and purposes, we're married. So my wife's friends, we went and we talked to them, and we went to this big Christmas party. And as we're leaving, like the husband's like getting ready to lean in and give me a hug, and I just reflexively put my hand out and was just like, "We're not there yet, buddy. Nothing against you. I just need to. It's me, right? Like I just am not there yet. Yeah, high fives, fist bumps, and again, like if you're a hugger, fine. Like at least Dan, I know you, right? Like the first time we met, you weren't just like bring it in here, big fella. Like, no, I'm not about that, you know. But yeah, so it is important, you know, and like I said, like society is not to blame, but generally speaking, like that is what has been put into my brain, you know, and because of this mentality, right, I've suffered multiple concussions while I was in the military, and none of them have a medical history or medical record. So, in order for me to get any kind of VA disability compensation for the long term effects of my concussions, it's going to be a battle simply because they will go, oh, you had concussions? Prove it. Oh, you can't? Not service connected, never really happened. Which again, I understand why it's that way. It's that way simply because anybody could just be like, I had concussions, and then they would get compensated for it. So I get why it is that way. But the downside to that is that, you know, it's very easy for the VA to not help or take care of soldiers or sailors or anybody else, especially when they were brought up with that mindset, right? Like my shoulder, they're like, oh, not service connected. And I'm like, bro, it's arthritis. Like it's literally a wear and tear injury. Well, you don't have a history of shoulder pain documented in your military medical file, so it's clearly not service connected. Get fucked. So it's one of those where it's why I feel like it's important as my platform grows to use it to kind of help or talk to people about these things, because we need to be looking out for ourselves and looking out for each other. We don't need to be just like, hey, suck it up, drive on. Too bad for you, right? Like, there are times you need to be told that, don't get me wrong. But man, like, that's why I'm always saying, if you're sick, yeah, that'll definitely do it, man. That'll definitely do it. I've had a couple. We had some Humvee accidents, right? Some IED situations, and so it's one of those where there's been a few times where my brain's gotten rattled pretty good. So that is what it is. But yeah, so that's why we gotta support each other. We gotta help each other, because if we don't, nobody else will, right? I'll have to call her back in a little bit. And I just turned 40 this year. And at 40, I want to continue to be able to run and play with my kids, right? My kids are fairly young. My son is 8, going to be 9. And my daughter is 11, going to be 12. And I love my bike rides, with my daughter. We go to the mountain bike trails here in Valpo, and we've started riding those. And I like to be able to do these things with them. And I don't want to be that parent that's just like, oh, I can't do this. I'm too old. I'm too this. I'm too that, right? And I also don't want to be at a point where if I go to a tournament, right, I play 2 games and then I'm just like checked out because I'm just exhausted. And there's nothing, I'm not putting down those guys, right? That's just not where I want to be. I don't like sitting to play 40K. I like to stand. I like to like move and be involved in it. So it's one of those where I. Well, Tyler, have you thought about not getting exhausted after 2 games of 40K? But no, it's where I want to be, right? It's fair. It's fair, buddy. You know, I want to be able to do 2 or 3 GTs in a year and not dread them, right? I don't want to go, oh my gosh, I'm going to be so exhausted. I will be exhausted, and that's fine. But even after a GT, like I'm still functional. So it's all good. Like that's what I want, right? And that's part of how this kind of seeps into the gaming side of it, right? If we're not taking care of ourselves, we're going to have a harder time playing these games simply because these types of games, whether it's 40K, whether it's Marvel Crisis Protocol or whatever it is, any kind of tabletop game like this that takes an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, they require thinking, they require focus, they require moving. And so, like, it's important that we take care of ourselves if we want to continue to enjoy this hobby, right? I don't know what that is because I'm looking at the chat on my phone right now. Give me a second. That looks terrible. Is that 2 purple fires with a dude in the middle? I don't get this, Tyler. What is that? I hate it. So really what I want to do right now too with everybody is I just want to set out my goals. I currently weigh 235, right? I do. It's the most I've weighed in a long time. And I generally sit at about 215 to 220 comfortably. Like honestly, I do. I can run at that weight. I can do a lot of things at that weight, right? So I will get down to 220 in 6 months. That's my goal. I'm stating it here for everybody to hear and everybody to see, so that I can put it out there. I can say, hey, this is what I'm doing. And that'll help me because now I've just made a promise with everybody. And now that I've made a promise with everybody, it's going to be easier for me to hold myself accountable. Because if I make a promise to myself, right, like I'm not a dumbass, I know that I can break a promise to myself. And the only person that's going to know is me. But if I tell you, right, now I feel beholden to it. Because now it's like I've told you this is what I'm doing, so this is what I'm doing. So it's 15 pounds in 6 months, which is about 2.5 pounds a month. And that's actually a pretty healthy, attainable weight loss goal, especially if you're just doing small incremental changes, right? Yes. It is already marked on the calendar, sir. Because we're in May, June, July, August, September, November. So November. So really, by my son's birthday, I'm going to be down to 220. And I actually have a little post-it note right here that has that stuff on it so that while I'm working, I can just constantly see it, right? Currently, at my big fatty fat weight of 235, I can do 3 pull-ups with good form in one set, right? My goal is to hit 10 in that same time frame, and I will. And I'll honestly probably achieve it sooner because as I lose weight and build my strength back up, I'm going to be able to do more, right? It's going to kind of be exponential. Oh, I might have skipped October's a bitch month, dude. Nothing happens in October. So I guess October sounds good. I did go September, November. So maybe I am stupid. Gun and weapon releases for what, Tyler? And it's not necessarily off topic. And so I can't do heavy weightlifting because of my shoulder, like I said. Post a link in the Discord for me, please. And in the Facebook community. Thank you. Are they leaks? Or is it Warhammer community? Like, is it Games Workshop or is it third party? Oh, okay. Yeah. Just slap that link in the Facebook community, please, and the Phoenix Discord. And right now I can run 15-minute miles, and in 6 weeks I'm gonna get it down to 13. Right? In 6 weeks we're gonna knock 3 minutes off of that mile time frame, and I also think that's a very attainable, achievable goal. So I can do a lot, right? There's only certain things that I can't do heavy weights with, right? So I can't do overhead presses with a lot of weight because of my shoulder, and I can't do super heavy bench press, but I can do like decent weights. But a lot of that is subjective, right? Um, because what's heavy for me might not be heavy for you, or what's heavy for you might not be heavy for me. I found that 225 is my upper limit on bench press before my shoulder starts just like getting heated and blowing up. But I don't even push it that hard anymore, right? So right now, what I'm using is a lot of calisthenics, and I've got a kettlebell. So, and we'll take a couple minutes here to kind of talk about that also. Really, all you need for equipment if you want to do strength training is you need like a small area with a flat floor. I would recommend like an over the door frame pull up bar, right? I've got one. I picked one up not that long ago because I hate gyms, right? I love working out. I love exercising. I even like gyms. I just hate the social aspect of gyms. I don't like waiting for equipment. I don't like waiting because people are talking. I don't like I just don't like people, really, is what it boils down to, right? It's kind of like the shopping cart thing. Like people don't put away shopping carts, right? Shut up, Tyler. People don't put away shopping carts, so why would I expect them to put away their weights, right? And that's part of it. It's like I just don't like it. I don't like having to fight with people to get to a piece of equipment. I just want to do my workout and get out. And so anything that prolongs that just frustrates me. And that's, again, just a normal interaction in a gym. So that's not anybody's fault. That's just a me thing. So I've just started kind of doing more calisthenics, push-ups, pull-ups, chin-ups, dips, uh, air squats is what they're called, like no weight squats. And then I've also got a kettlebell, and it's a 50 pounder, and it's awesome. I love that thing. So I've got a pull-up bar, a kettlebell, and an ab roller, and those three pieces of equipment cost me about $100, and that's really like if you're motivated, that's all you're gonna need for a while, right? So like on Mondays, I do a kettlebell workout, and what I'll do is I'll start with swings. That's also fair, but I think it's because of the mindset of a lot of people in the gym, right? Generally speaking, most people in the gym understand why we put the weights away, and people are at the gym to exercise, right? They're like it takes more motivation to go to the gym than it does to go to the grocery store. So if you're already motivated enough to go to the gym, I think most people are going to be motivated enough to put their weights away. People go to the grocery store because they have to. So I think there's a certain level of just don't give a shit that goes along with obligatory errands, like getting gas, right? Getting gas is an obligatory errand, which is why, generally speaking, when I worked at the gas station, I hated people. When I first moved back to Indiana, I worked at a gas station briefly while I was first finding myself and figuring out what I wanted to do with my life. And so there's a certain level of just like, don't give a shit, be an asshole that happens at a gas station that a lot of people don't realize. And it's probably very similar for grocery stores simply because, again, we're talking about an obligatory errand as opposed to a voluntary one. When you're doing something voluntarily, most people have a better attitude. Whereas if it's something that you have to do, cool, man. Like, you're just going to be a dick about it. So, it is what it is. But yeah, so like I said, so I'll start off with swings, and I usually do 5 sets of swings, and it's a 50-pound kettlebell. If anybody out there has ever done kettlebell swings, 50 pounds, that's not a beginner weight for a kettlebell swing, right? Like, you got to be pretty chunky to be throwing that weight around with one-handed kettlebell swings. Now, don't get me wrong, there are definitely dudes that are swinging more weight than me, but like that is not something that just anybody's going to pick up and do. It's going to require practice. So honestly, like if it's something you're just getting into, I would recommend starting off with just like an adjustable weight kettlebell and then keeping that. And then once that becomes too easy, picking up just a heavy one. Bam, too easy. So I start with that, and then I just do a full body workout after that. And I do 4 to 5 sets of everything. So I'll do like, presses, shoulder presses, tricep extensions, curls. I'll do suitcase squats, and then straight leg deadlifts. I just make sure I do everything, every body part, and I just do a full body workout. And then the next day, right, I just crush calisthenics. I do push-ups. And with the push-ups, what I do is I just go to 100. However many sets it takes, I go to 100. Let's see, yesterday, I think it was, I got 105 sets. So we're making progress in the last week of doing this. And then with pull-ups, I'm just going, right? Like my goal is to just get to a set of 10, and I'm at a set of 3, and then I just make sure I do 10. Right? My goal is always to do 10, however many sets it takes, but I'm always trying to get more that first set, because if I can go from 1 pull-up on the first set to 3 pull-ups on the first set, chances are I'm going to go from 1 pull-up on the second set to 2 or 3 on the second set also. So it's all just understanding that it's slow incremental growth, and it will improve over time. And really, so in the last week, honestly, like, I didn't expect to lose any weight. I haven't lost any weight. But what has happened is that, like I said, I'm doing more pull-ups. I've actually already knocked a minute off my mile. I did a 14-minute mile today. And it's a lot of walking, running. The whole workout takes me an hour tops, because I just do 30 minutes of cardio, and then I go and do my strength training. And my goal is to just pack more cardio in my 30 minutes. I'm not going for distance, I'm going for time. And then I just try to pack more cardio in. So as my speed improves, my mileage will improve, I'll burn more calories. You're going to hear a lot of people out there that are like, oh, steady state cardio doesn't do anything for you. That's not true. Just keep that in mind also. So that was really a lot longer than I had intended for it to be. Not that that was good or bad. I just wasn't sure how long this was going to be. I'm super glad that it got to be interactive. We got to have some discussions. Like I said, it's really important to me that we all take care of each other and that we all do what we're supposed to do to take care of ourselves. Like I tease Tyler, but that's why I tease him, right? Like I don't want him to make mistakes that I made. I want him to learn from the people around him, because Tyler's pretty young. He's young enough that he should be able to look at all the health problems that some of the people that are only 5 years older than him are having that we know, and just be like, shit, I don't want to be there. And so we should just make sure we're holding each other accountable and taking care of each other and ourselves, right? Like that is really where I'm at with it. And I'm glad I got to kind of share some of my story with everybody. On Monday, we're going to do a weigh-in, and we'll do a check-in, and I think that's it. I'm going to end this video. I may jump right back on so we can go over this Warhammer community article that Tyler just posted, but I want that to be 2 separate videos, 2 separate entities. So I may or may not see everybody in about 10 minutes. I'm going to take a quick water break.